Hi, so I'm here with Tom from Four Pees. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Jack.
Hello, nice to meet you. Tell us a little bit about Four Pees.
Four Peas actually has evolved over the years, originally from being a distributor of software selling to resellers, to becoming more and more of an integrator. And I think that today we try to position ourselves more and more as a digital transformation and automation agency specifically for the print industry.
Okay.
And so, if you ask, so what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, we we typically help uh, printers in all the different segments in the print industry with any digitization and automation problems, going from order intake to connecting orders and artwork, automating that up to the printer or the press.
Okay.
But then also providing feedback, the information that can come from the machinery, but all the way down to logistics as well. Uh, push the information through, but also pull the information back in so that all the different systems are properly connected and you can have an all-encompassing view of the entire manufacturing workflow.
Wow. So the whole thing. So what sort of companies, size? What's weird? You say all print companies, but is there a kind of
Yeah. So size-wise, we typically say it doesn't make sense below a turnover of about 5 million, whatever currency that is in.
yeah?
And we also say, anywhere upward from 15, 20 orders per day.
Yeah.
If you look at the companies that we do deal with, there are the more recent companies, new companies that have a relatively small team and that see the benefit of digitizing very early, because as we all know, it is not necessarily very easy to find proper staff and things like that. But then we also see bigger companies that already are more advanced on the automation and digitization track, but still see room for ongoing improvements.
Okay. So what are your kind of USPs in this area? What are you giving customers?
So I think that what you see in our industry is that there's traditional graphic arts resellers.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that sell machinery and consumables, inks and consumables, and happen to sell software with that.
Right.
Yeah, because the machine comes with a piece of software, and they might have a technician that does something. Some of these companies have evolved. Some of them have maybe a dedicated software team, but then typically that team is very small. And also, you have a number of other smaller software resellers that, as it says, they resell the software. Very often, they don't necessarily implement it.
Right.
What we see is that if you look at digitization and automation, very often printers have all the technology that they need on the shelf sitting somewhere. However, it is not properly implemented.
Okay.
And so when you ask what is it then
Yeah.
that we do, we actually implement it, and we have a methodology built around that to properly implement that.
So I'm a print company. I take it. I'm getting bigger. I'm taking orders. I'm struggling, making mistakes. Maybe. What's the process for sort of identifying, deciding that Four Pees is the application for them?
That's a very relevant question, because when you talk about automation, there are many printers that come to us and say, I know I need to do something, but I don't know exactly what. And so what we do when I talked about the methodology is that we typically start with an analysis and specification phase. It's a paid service where we spend about 3 days analyzing where it hurts most. Yeah. And then out of that comes a fairly technical specification, but also a mix of products and services that in which we kind of define what are we going to do in the first phase and what might we do then thereafter.
Okay. I mean, software. It helps, but it's also a big decision. It's a big plan to take your business to that level. You say that you do this sort of analysis of needs. Does that go all the way through to the implementation, to the running once you've installed? I mean, how do you look after your customers once they've installed and running?
Yeah, so when you talk about installation, you have...
You're cloud-based, aren't you?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But you might have a little bit a traditional view on how software is run.
Yeah.
Yes, there is software that you might still install, and we still install legacy software, I would say, on-premise software. Um, I think it is not about installing the software or training somebody on it. When you talk about automation, it is really about how do you configure it, how do you connect it. That is the implementation part, and very often that's where we add the value.
Okay, good stuff. So as a company,
Yeah.
where are you going from here? Well, presumably you're constantly developing. What are any
Yeah.
sort of new things you're announcing here?
Well, you mentioned cloud,
Yeah.
and so in the beginning of February, we actually announced a cloud platform that we've launched called Atomics. I think that what we've seen as we've evolved from a distributor to an integrator, we kind of sat back and looked at the different suppliers, but also at who else is out there in the market, and look at where the movement to the cloud was going to go. And we didn't really see anybody stand up. And then the feedback was, oh, but we don't get any demand for cloud. I understand that there's no demand for cloud, but I think that at some point, or there might be less demand for cloud because printers do have a somewhat traditional approach to things.
Yeah.
However, one of the things that we're seeing is that run lengths in general are going down, and when you look at an overall trend in the industry, what we see and what others are also telling us is that you actually see a transformation going from mass production to mass customization.
Right.
Yeah? Rather than
Yeah.
printing 10 million of one thing, you're printing 10 million individual different
Variable
variations.
data
Yeah,
and all
exactly.
that sort of thing. And this is something you can build in with the software.
And that is something that we actually already do with some of the existing tools that we deal with. However, in order to fully support that, you need to be able to go to the cloud.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah.
Because traditional software does not scale in the same way that the cloud can scale. And in order to deal with that extremely variable production, you also need to have a technology stack that can, variably scale with that.
Okay. How does that look from your customer's point of view? It probably doesn't affect them particularly, other than to make that decision. So if I'm a printer and I'm working on my system, I'm working in the cloud. What difference does it make to me?
The difference that it makes to you is that if we look at Atomics, there's different elements to it. It's actually we launched it as one product, one platform, but three different products.
Yeah.
And so I would say at the core is Atomics Manage. Atomics Manage is then what you'll see in the other industries being defined as an integration platform as a service, where we connect all these different pieces together, where we transform all the information to be a unified bunch of information that then people can look at in a uniform way. Yeah. And so the fact that you have a cloud-based system that a company with potentially multiple sites or things like that can easily access is one thing.
Yeah.
The second part is Atomics Prepare, and Atomics Prepare would best be described as an artwork processing API. There's two types of data in the print industry. There's all the administrative information or feedback that comes from machines, and then there's the artwork.
Yeah.
Processing the artwork, if you want to make that scalable, again, it is something where you can stack up servers at some point, but we today live in a world where you actually can scale back and forth the infrastructure when it is in the cloud. You don't need to manage licenses, you don't need to manage infrastructure. All that is being managed by the platform itself.
Okay.
So that's then what Atomics Prepare does. And then the third element, which is at this moment the least advanced, but is you have the individual artworks, you have that overview. Then the question is, how can we optimally combine different orders together? Today, that is a core technology that does ganging, nesting, and imposition, but where we'll also see information come back from with regards to pricing and costing and things like that.
Okay. Right, we're here at FESPA,
Yep.
and I see you're part of FESPA Netherlands, presumably.
Yep.
A little bit about what are the benefits to you as a company of being part of FESPA?
Right. So I think that what we've tried to build up over the recent years is that FESPA, in its origin, is an organization that wants to promote their members to look at technology, to look at what is moving in the industry as much as possible. Suppliers are part of that, and what we've tried to do, rather than doing that on a global level, is what is interesting in the last couple of years is that some of these local branch organizations have transformed in local chapters of FESPA. In those countries where we're present at, and that's Belgium, the Netherlands, France, and in the UK, where we have local representation as a company, we try to work with the local chapters to provide that technological insight.
Okay. And so how's the show been so far?
It's been good. Yeah, it's good crowd.
It's good.
Yeah.
Look, thank you very much. It's been a
Pleasure.
pleasure talking to you.
Same here.
And I hope to see you soon.
Super.